she was telling me how she would ask her psychology students, how do you envision your life? If you could
Yeah,
have your dream life right now, what would that be? And
yeah,
she was telling me how so many of the students look at her and they go, what do you mean dream? Right? And so to your point,
yeah,
we've stopped dreaming. We've accepted
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the bare minimum for
Exactly,
reality. And
exactly.
I I believe on the surface level, the systems that we grow up in do not breed us for success. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. And you might say, "Oh, well, I've been told my entire life to go to school, get good grades, go to university, become a doctor. Doctor makes this exact doctor makes $400,000 a year. What do you mean that that's not success, Brad? Money is very important. And in your lifetime, you should want to make as much of it as possible if that's your goal. If you just want to live on a farm and, tend to animals or something, obviously you don't need to make that much money. It depends on your goals. But to think, this is the thing, we've been conditioned that money is the only answer to happiness and to thriving. Is money essential? Yes. If you're broke and you don't have any money, then obviously it's very hard to thrive in other areas of life. But we think whenever it's always an interesting conversation when I talk to people,
Mm.
especially who are my age at the university level, and I ask them like, "Oh, why are you going to school? What do you want? What do you want to do?" And they're like, "Oh, I want to be in finance." And I go, "Oh, that's awesome! Like, why did you decide you wanted to do that? What was the spark for you?" And they go, "Oh, I want to make a lot of money." And listen,
Mm.
I can't say that there's not people out here that just make money and don't have other things together in their life. I can't say that they're not happy on the personal level because everything's different for everyone. But if we're looking at statistics, it's not just money that makes you happy. Money, in combination with
Yeah.
self development, thriving relationships, spiritual knowledge, best combination in the entire world.
Before we dive into today's episode, just a few things. And first of all, I'm really happy that you are here, that you enjoy with me today's episode. And the next point is a really important point, because this channel thrives through your recommendations. Because I don't run any ads, you are able to enjoy an interruption-free podcast episode. Because I know with myself, sometimes it's a bit annoying when you listen to podcast episodes and you need to listen to a lot of advertising, right? And because of that reason, I decided to don't run any ads on that channel. So it would mean the world to me when you can share this podcast episode with your friends, that we can impact as much lives as possible together. Together we are strong. And also make sure that you follow me on my YouTube channel and hit the like button. Let me know your comments down below in the description. And also when you listen this podcast on Spotify, etc., let me a review here, 5-star review when you like the podcast. And the next point is that you find all my services down below in the description and how you can support me. And the last point is, in today's interview we discussed many important topics. We covered self-development extensively, addressing why it is crucial for everyone to strive to become a better version of themselves each day. We also talked about the pressure one might self on themselves, especially when focused on self-development, as well as topics like money and much more. Additionally, we shared valuable insights on investing in oneself. And now, enjoy today's podcast episode. Welcome to my podcast, A Place for Open Minds. the education that sets you free, and where we dive deeper into self-development, spirituality, consciousness, etc., and everything that has to do with becoming a better version of ourselves. Here we just go with the flow and the divine. So let's just start indirectly. Today I have an amazing guest here, Bradley Glantz, aka Mighty Brad Official. He's a self-development coach and the founder of the Mighty Tribe. But before I speak too much about him, he can introduce himself. So welcome to the show, Bradley.
Sure, thanks so much for having me, Felix. I'm super excited to have this conversation. Every time we hop on the phone together and have our individual calls, just talking,
Yeah.
it's always a blast. I always learn from you. But yeah, guys, a little bit about me. I've been in the podcast space myself for the past year and a half, 2 years. Started coaching at the time of us recording this, probably around between 6 and 9 months ago. And it's all centered around self-development as well as improving relationships, spirituality, within self-development, increasing confidence, overcoming social anxiety, tons of different stuff, tons of different realms. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also in a band and super passionate about music, and I try my best to center my life around creativity so that when I meet people like Felix, we just have the best conversations possible.
Yeah, great, great. That's amazing. That's amazing. And as you said before, yeah, we just hold it like a conversation, just going with the flow. And let's start in directly with the first question. What does self-development mean for you? And do you think it's essential for everyone? And why?
Mm, that's a great question. So, self-development as a whole. To answer the second part of it, I personally would say it is necessary for everybody. In the exact regards and exact protocols and exact habits and mindset shifts that you make, that's subjective. It depends on what your goals are, it depends what you want for yourself. But improving yourself in general as a person is always required. I've really adopted the philosophy nowadays of, there is this separate philosophy out here where a lot of people say if you're not learning, you're dying. And although I partly agree with that, I also think there still needs to be time for being. There's doing and then there's being. There's this great spiritual teacher named Wayne Dyer, who I absolutely love. You guys should all check him out, especially his lectures on YouTube. And he was talking to Eckhart Tolle, who actually wrote this book here, The
Ah,
Power of Now. So check this book out as well. And so
yeah,
they were talking about the difference between doing and being. And so doing in the
yeah.
self-development space would be, you know, incorporating different mindset shifts so that you no longer have limiting beliefs, so that you no longer think you're a piece of garbage and that you're never going to be successful and that you're never going to be able to achieve anything. No girl is ever going to love you. We take those beliefs and we work on them so that we don't believe that about ourselves anymore. And then we improve our lives. If we think about it in this sense, think about if you don't do that. We're all human beings. We all have insecurities. We all have things that we're dealing with in our personal lives. But if you don't deal with any of that, it's going to drag on for years to come and probably the rest of your life. Whereas if you incorporate some level of self-development in your life and say, hey, I don't want to be insecure anymore. I don't want this thing to hold me back. I don't want to be addicted to doing this every day anymore. And when you make that stand for yourself and you start to stand for something and you set the intention that I want to change, that is the first step. And then after that first step, you keep going. But even back to what I was saying before, the doing versus the being. The doing is doing these things to improve your life. The being aspect of it, which is a part of the reason as to why I don't fully agree with if you're not learning, you're dying, is because as human beings, we are naturally, our consciousness enjoys being in the present moment. Most of us have never experienced the present moment, or we do on like super slight occasion. And obviously, you probably hear this all the time, the present moment. Yes, but what really is the present moment? If you take a step back, I like to do this exercise of forgetting about who you are.
Mm.
Forget what you have to do for the rest of today. Forget what your goals are. Forget about your family. Forget about your friends. Forget about your job and your business. Forget about everything. And on the surface level, you're like, why would I do that? Forget about it for 2 minutes. Take some deep breaths. Specifically, do this in nature. look around you. You see the trees, you see the wind bristling through it. You look at the grass, you look at everything around you. Just take some deep breaths. You forget about who you are. You're just in this moment right now. And for a lot of us, if you guys do this one time, you'll notice that you may not have ever been in this state of consciousness before. But when you do it for the first time, you'll realize, I want to do this a lot more. And this isn't to say that we can always just be all the time. We have to do
Mm.
things. We have to make money. We have to work. We have to tend to our relationships. We have to tend to ourselves. We have to improve ourselves. But like I said, doing and being, there's a balance to all of this. And so what is self-development as a whole? It's
Yeah.
taking the areas of your life that you're not so fond of and either completely destroying those beliefs or just transforming them and making slight adjustments. Right? Just, self-development is such a big branch of there's so many different things you
Such
can
a
do.
big,
It's like people say, go to the gym and go for walks and go on runs and improve your relationships, this and that. It's so big, but start small, right? It's very overwhelming.
right?
You just hear self-development as a whole and you feel like your life sucks and you're like, well, I have to do all this work to make everything better. It's like, yes, you do, but you don't have to do it all at once. Just do one thing a day for 5 minutes. And the difference between you doing one thing a day for 5 minutes over the next year versus the version of you now that's doing nothing for the next year, you're going to be a completely different
Yeah.
person by the end of the year. Now, obviously, that's a super small example. And what's probably going to happen is after you do something for 5 minutes, you're going to want to do it for more and learn more things. It's going to naturally snowball. But just to get started, set the intention. I'm just going to make my life better in this area for 5 minutes a day. That's it. And like I said, what you'll notice is after you do it for 5 minutes, you'll be like, this is actually helping. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy being in the present moment. I enjoy meditating. I enjoy going for a walk. I enjoy, and you start a little bit more down the line, I start to actually enjoy having these difficult conversations with people. Because on the other side of that difficult conversation is our flourishing relationship. Because if the version of me now, which is scared to death to have that conversation with my girlfriend or my partner or that person, nothing's ever going to change. You're going to deal with that thing. Your girlfriend's going to nag you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
set the intention of, I want this to change, and you voice that to somebody,
Yeah.
things can start to change, obviously, in the relationship aspect if you work on it together. So that would be my general answer.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great answer. So there was also something coming in mind now. There are also people, and this I ask myself more often. Uh, you know, some people walk a bit unconsciously, unaware through life. And uh, I I had it lately also. This whole conditioning from the system, and it is from the system. It's just a fact. It's we get conditioned when we grow up already. Since when we are born, we get conditioned from the system and we get programmed. And this 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 whole system itself, it's it's so fascinating. It's so smart, that most of the people even don't realize that they get so much conditioned that they even don't think themselves. They don't think themselves. They think that they think themselves, but they don't. And we have that definitely also to a certain degree. We are also not perfect, so we are also just on our journey, personal development journey. But it's yeah, I really think about more times lately, uh, why other people, maybe sometimes it feels for me that some other people think they don't have any problems, or they just uh you know uh they live already their good life, and they don't need something more. They don't need to add something more, or but then I also realized that they don't have the courage, or they are not brave enough, or they are not, they don't really believe in a better life for themselves anymore, because they was growing up in this system and stopped really dreaming and really see that there's so much more. But it's because of this education. I just wanted to add this now. And um yeah, it's so fascinating for me, because
Yeah.
they are just unaware of that there is other education that you don't get in this primary school system. And then they are just, in quotes, fine with that what they have, and they don't see anything to improve themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So do
absolutely.
do do you see that also?
Yeah, 100%. I
You know
think
what I
so many of us are so conditioned to a degree where, like you were saying to preface it, we don't really think for ourselves. And I was talking to a psychologist, and she's also a college professor, a university professor. For those
Yeah,
who don't live in the United States, you guys don't call it college. And she coaches business owners and also psychology students. And she was telling me how she would ask her psychology students, how do you envision your life? If you could
yeah,
have your dream life right now, what would that be? And
yeah.
she was telling me how so many of the students look at her and they go, what do you mean dream? Right? And so to your point,
Yeah.
we've stopped dreaming. We've accepted the bare minimum
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Exactly.
reality. And
Exactly.
I I believe on the surface level, the systems that we grow up in do not breed us for success. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. And you might say, "Oh, well, I've been told my entire life to go to school, get good grades, go to university, become a doctor. Doctor makes this exact doctor makes $400,000 a year. What do you mean that that's not success, Brad? Money is very important. And in your lifetime, you should want to make as much of it as possible if that's your goal. If you just want to live on a farm and, tend to animals or something, obviously you don't need to make that much money. It depends on your goals. But to think, this is the thing, we've been conditioned that money is the only answer to happiness and to thriving. Is money essential? Yes. If you're broke and you don't have any money, then obviously it's very hard to thrive in other areas of life. But we think whenever it's always an interesting conversation when I talk to people,
Mm.
especially who are my age at the university level, and I ask them like, "Oh, why are you going to school? What do you want to do?" And they're like, "Oh, I want to be in finance." And I go, "Oh, that's awesome! Like, why did you decide you wanted to do that? What was the spark for you?" And they go, "Oh, I want to make a lot of money." And listen,
Mm.
I can't say that there's not people out here that just make money and don't have other things together in their life. I can't say that they're not happy on the personal level because everything's different for everyone. But if we're looking at statistics, it's not just money that makes you happy. Money in combination with
Yeah.
self-development, thriving relationships, spiritual knowledge, best combination in the entire world. But this philosophy that we've been taught of if I have money and everything else in my life is like whatever, it's like it doesn't matter if I have money.
Yes.
It's not true, right? At least, and listen, I haven't made $1 million yet. So maybe I'm wrong, right? I'm 20 years old right now on this podcast. Maybe I'll change my mind in 5, 10 years, right? But this
Yeah.
is under the impression that I am right now, based on my research, based on my experience, based on my many conversations with people who have made a lot of money. I had somebody on my
Yeah.
podcast. His name is Jason Picard. He was on Wall Street and made millions upon millions and millions of dollars, but he was super overweight and unhappy. And he is now a
Yeah.
spiritual teacher. And along that process and his journey, he realized that money wasn't the only thing that leads to a thriving and fulfilling life. And so we need to take a step back and ask ourselves the beliefs that I have about myself, relationships, this world, what I have to do with my life, what I can't do, are these
Yeah.
because I actually believe them and I logically put all the information out on the table and say, yeah, this connects to this and this makes sense. That's why I need to do this. Or is it that mommy and daddy said you have to do this, and I just said okay, and that's what I have to do. It's like, and that's not at all discrediting, that your family and your mom and your dad don't care about you. Of course, most of the time your parents want the best for you, and that's why they're saying you have to be a doctor, you have to do this, or you can't do this. But you have to understand that this is your life. It's not theirs. And they gave you life, and be grateful for that and spend as much time as you can with them and appreciate their input.
Yeah.
But their input isn't your entire reality. But going not just situations with your parents, with every belief that you have about everything, ask yourself, why? Why do
Yeah.
I believe this? And is it what I actually
Yeah.
believe?
Yeah, there's always something to find out about yourself. I really believe that no matter on what level you are, and I say no level because always make this metaphor now. That's just imagine we are in a game, right? And when you are in a game, level one is kind of easy, right? So, and level 10 is then already a bit more difficult, right? But you you get more skills. So, when you are actually playing, and I think and I don't want to step anyone off their foot, but probably anyway, when you listen now that podcast episode or something, or yeah, it's just something similar into the personal development space, then I assuming that you are playing already, right? So you when you play already this human game here, when we assuming now that this is a game, then when you are on level, I don't know, 50 already, you have already more skills, and you always find out something more about yourself and get to know yourself better. Normally, also I ask this question in the beginning of the podcast: Who are you? Because I think it's a really deep question. We can't just answer it on, oh, I'm Felix, I'm 28 years young, and I live there and there, and I make that and that. I'm Bradley, I'm 20 years young, I make that and that. So, and yeah, actually, when you just jump one time in this rabbit hole, like Alice in Wonderland, you don't come out anymore from that, or at least you don't want to. And sometimes what I realize with myself also is that it can be really challenging, and that sometimes it's also for me personally, this whole personal development space, spirituality, expanding consciousness, etc., that this can be really overwhelming, and that this can be also a how we call it um Hassliebe, hate love, We say it in German, Hassliebe. So hate love, you just hate you hate it sometimes in one way, and in the other way you love it because you grow and there's so much more possible, and that you truly can create here your dream life in this world. So, and because of that, it's so important that you invest in yourself, right? I I don't really understand people who can't invest in themselves, or who don't, But I was the same 6 years ago or something like that,
Yeah.
and I think you feel what I am saying, you know that also with the pressure of development and this high performing. So,
Yeah, I think
what is your take on that?
I think the biggest reason as to why we don't invest in self-development in any facet of life is because we're afraid of change. And we've I've been talking about this recently. We've reached the point of being comfortably numb, where life isn't good. In fact, it's pretty crappy, but it's not bad enough for you to say, "Oh, this is it. I'm about to be homeless. I need to change something." It's like
Yeah.
you're able to live your basic life and afford basic things, but there's nothing beyond that because you don't desire anything beyond that. And you say, "Well, yeah, I do. I want my life to be better." But you don't, not bad enough. If you did want it bad enough, you would start doing things. And then, some people will come at that and say, like, "Oh, I'm trying. Like, how are you going to tell me, like, I don't want it?" And
Yeah.
like I said, it's not that you don't want it. You don't want it bad enough because you're not setting the intention. You're not trying hard enough, right? And it's not always willpower. Like sometimes it takes certain realizations. Like a lot of people aren't at the certain pain threshold point where they're like, I need to make my life better now. Because,
Yeah.
and this is the other thing. It also has so much to do about how you view the world, how you view yourself, what the relationships with people you have, who you're surrounding yourself with. Because if you're comfortably numb with your life, you're working a job that you don't like, or you just in any facet of like don't really enjoy your being here on Earth, and everybody that you're friends with is in the same position, and nobody else is trying to make their lives better, you would have to ask yourself, why would you? If you're surrounding yourself with
Yeah.
5 to 10 people who don't want anything better for themselves, and you're finding yourself stuck and not being able to do better for yourself, why do you think that is? It's partly probably because of your limiting beliefs and the things that you've been dealing with and your addiction and stuff like that. Absolutely. And these are things that are difficult to overcome. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But objectively look at your life and be like, okay, if this sucks, like why? And is it my fault? Because a lot of times it is your fault. But what you want to do and what makes you even more comfortable is saying, no, it's not my fault. It's their fault. It's John's fault. It's my parents. It's
Yeah.
the school teachers. It's blah, 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 blah. And absolutely, sometimes you get into situations in your life, bad situations, that weren't actually your fault. They weren't. Maybe it genuinely was John's fault. Maybe it was. But would it serve you better to keep complaining about how John screwed up your life? Or would it serve you better to say, okay, yeah, John screwed up my life a little bit, but what if I change things? What if I do something? What if I make a change in my life so that I don't have to deal with this anymore? But we go, no,
Yeah.
that's too difficult. That's too deep for me. It's too much work because we're all
Yeah.
so addicted to social media and
Yeah,
and
exactly.
all these addictions and smoking weed and hitting our vapes and stuff like that. And you ask yourself,
Yeah.
why can I not put this down? It's
Uh,
because everybody you're surrounding yourself with is doing the exact same thing. People come up to me all the time and say, Brad, you know this guy on TikTok? You see that? I go, no, no, I don't. I don't watch TikTok. And I'm like, oh, what? And then they start to explain. I'm like, and it's brain rot. It's this we're spending our time and our consciousness looking
yeah.
at these videos. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say like you can never scroll and you can never watch funny videos. Like, yeah, you can entertain yourself sometimes, but so many of us are so consumed by this that this is your life. This is what you choose to come up to me and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
Brad,
Yeah.
did you see this dude who made this skit?" I'm not saying you can never do that because there's certain like I'm a huge fan of Batman. One of my buddies, my bassist in my band, comes up to me all the time. He's like, "Hey, did you see this guy's new video?" And it's like on YouTube, and it's like, "Yeah, like I'm interested to
Yeah.
see that." But
Yeah.
generally
Yeah.
speaking, this is what consumes our lives. We are entertained so much to the point where we have no drive, we have no passion, we have no room for growth. We do have room for growth, but we feel like we don't, and we feel like we can't do it.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
makes it even easier to keep being addicted and to keep not making your life better is that everybody else you know is doing the exact same thing. So yes, why would you change if everybody else in your life is promoting you to not change? So
Yeah.
to
Right. Right.
kind of for some potential solutions for that, I'm not saying to cut off all your friends, but if all of your friends or most of them aren't serving you in any way, shape, or form, they're only bringing you down, maybe you should spend less time with them. Maybe there are some people that you do have to completely cut off because they're so negative, right? And it would definitely be worth it to have, like, if you're trying to make a change in your life and all your friends are stuck in that similar bad place, like, absolutely bring up the conversation. Like, guys, I want to start quitting this addiction. I want to start making this better, this and that. And you have to see their reaction. And based on their reaction, you're going to see whether they're going to be able to come along with you for the journey or not. Because you could say, hey guys, I
Yeah.
really want to quit smoking. And they say, dude, you're an absolute loser. Why do you want to stop? Like,
Yeah.
what's the point of you making your life better, right? And then to that degree, it'd be like, oh, yeah, I probably can't spend that much time with these people. But then on the flip side, if you say that, like, guys, I really want to quit this. I think we should start to make a change for ourselves. And they go, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we should try these different things together so that we can go and do this and stop doing this bad thing. Then that can be the start to the most amazing brotherhood that you've ever experienced in your life. And that's why, the Mighty Tribe, the business model and the community that I run, it's like, if you can have that in real life, that beats everything else in existence. We were talking about before we started recording the importance
Yeah.
of collaboration and having these
Yeah.
conversations and surround yourselves with these people. If you have a brotherhood, if you have people in person, your friends are also focused on self-development, you guys are unstoppable. Nobody's gonna stop you. Oh, maybe you guys shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you got Brad, Felix, etc., etc. Why are you guys doing this? Uh, you guys, you guys are just. What is the purpose behind this? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. BS. Not listening. Blah blah blah. You're unstoppable. Nobody's gonna take you off of
Yeah.
that path if you have people behind you. But if you're the only person improving and everybody who surrounds you is trying to drag you down, what's gonna happen is you're gonna climb up the ladder. You're gonna climb up like 5 steps.
Yeah.
You're gonna see
Yeah.
improvement in your life. And then you're gonna go and hang out with your friends and you're going to be dragged down. You're going to be dragged down 2 steps.
Yeah.
Or what could happen is you could be dragged down all the way back to the bottom. And all of the work that you've done could be thrown to the garbage because with something like addiction, it's very easy to get back on. You could be addicted to something for, let's say, 5 years, and then you quit it, and you're actually able to quit it. And you quit it for
Yeah.
10 years, and you're saying, yeah, I'm good. And then 10 years later, your friends invite you over. They're like, yeah, let's smoke a little bit. And you're like, oh, it's been 10 years and I used to be addicted. But like, there's no way me trying it again will get me addicted again. Do it once, you're done. Done. You're right back into the same cycle. You're dealing with it for another 5 years. When you put something down, obviously, if you do it again, like, and you relapse, like, this is a normal thing that happens to people sometimes, right? And you deal with it. But set the intention after I put this down, I'm never doing it ever again. Now, like if you're a severe alcoholic, I'm never taking a sip of alcohol ever again. Now, it depends on your subjective situation. Maybe you can go out for, a drink once a week and not be addicted again, right? It's not that broad. It depends on your situation. But generally speaking, when you put something down and you make an intention for yourself, when you start to make a stand for yourself in your life, stand by it, keep going. And if people are telling you that you can't do it and people are dragging you down, let them go.
Yeah,
Let them
yeah,
go.
but there's also, I think I wrote now some different points down from what you said, but also just directly now to really making this decision, right? This commitment. I think commitment is even stronger than just a decision, and you really commit yourself to that. Uh, that's the start for a better life, right? I really, I truly believe in that. And but there's then also, it's simple but not easy. So when it would be completely easy, then everyone would make it. There's also this quote: hard, uh, hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life. And it's kind of true, really. And uh but there's also, you really need discipline. And with some things, it's really hard to improve, and because of that, I also spoke earlier about this pressure from the self-development scene. uh Sometimes you push yourself so hard, and you want to achieve so great things. You're a high performer, and then sometimes you can fall also into a bit self-hatred, and all this uncomfortable feelings, because you don't get these things done every day, what do you want to get done, you know? And sometimes it's also, it's whole life is like that. Woo, and then goes up, you know? It's never just a straight line up. And I think it's really important that we remember always on our big why, also when we have throwbacks, right? I speak now completely honestly, completely open, and I anyway stand completely for authenticity. And I also don't edit this podcast because I don't want to support this fake world anymore. And uh, really, for example, with me, a really, really big challenge, a really big bad habit is standing up early. Sometimes I just don't come out of bed, especially also right now when I have my pollen allergy. But I think it's not only because of that. But anyway, you know, sometimes I just lie there in bed way too long, and then I stand up directly with self-hatred. And so now I find my way faster back into self-love, unconditional self-love, because with self-hatred and with the slow frequencies you can't change your life. It's impossible. You can't change your life, you know, when you wipe that low, you know. And I wipe that low, I mean with the uncomfortable feelings, right? So but with me it's also standing up early consistently. This it's really, really deep, and it's a really bad habit, and I need to understand why this goes much deeper. And because of that, also meditation, and just really have patience with yourself, right? And just say, all right, now it is how it is, but now it's now, and now I can change it. Now I can use the moment to make that and that, and to create a good day for myself, right? I have the choice now. Now I'm awake. So, and tomorrow it's a new chance, right? Um, and then I really wrote, yeah, I wrote me down here. Uh, Most of the people take action when it's too late or short before. Why not prevent, right? You said earlier something, I'm not sure again what it was, but I wrote it down on something you said. Maybe you remember, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's so important to take action now, because most of the people they just take action when it's really too late.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm also I'm also a big believer in that late is better than never. Although, yes, you probably should have started 5 years ago. If you're alive, there's hope. If you're watching this and you're 60 years old, you're probably not. But if you are, but you
yeah,
finally have a spark of awareness now, like let me change this, like go ahead. So, oh, it's too late. No, it's not too late for you. And this is the thing. I think with the biggest struggle, my generation is dealing with, and probably the one below us is going to as well, is we're giving up before we even start, especially in like the relationship avenue and self-development also. We say, I'm not good enough. I'm dealing with this addiction, this and that, and there's no hope for me. I can't change. And to that, I would say you have to give and touching on the point which I wanted to reference before when based on what you were saying and speaking about, give yourself credit. Oh, I really want to quit this addiction. I really want to quit vaping. And I always hit it like 150 times a day, and I started counting it. And today I did 120. But it's like, oh, I'm
yeah,
such a horrible person. It's like, hold on a second. You usually do it 150 times, and today you only did it 120. That's progress. Is it the
yeah.
exact end goal that you want to be at? No. But the fact that you were able to do it 30 less times than you usually do it every other day shows and presents the fact to you that if you can keep this will that no longer plays your life, but you have to set the intention that that is what you want to do. If you go in it all dilly-dally, like, yeah, I know vaping's not good for me, but like maybe I'll put it down, like I'll try. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're gonna fall right back
Yeah.
in. But if you say, this is plaguing my life, I know it's horrible for me. I do not want to do this anymore. I do not want it involved in my life. Then you have the start to a real change. And that's what you were talking about. It's not just doing things, it's committing. And this is the biggest problem among all of us now. We don't want to commit to
Yeah.
things. It's too
Yeah.
much. It's too much
Exactly.
work to do something for
Exactly.
15 minutes a day. It's too much to set the intention and work every day to not do this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not too much. You've been bought and sold based on your experience and your own experience and from what other people's struggles have been to say that, you can't do it. And you say, yeah, well, my friend tried it and it didn't work for them. Are you your friend? You're not. You might be similar to them in a lot of areas and you're dealing with the same addiction, but you're a completely different person. Just be
Yeah.
something that can work for some, and this goes for almost everything in life. So a certain path that may lead someone to greatness may lead someone else to misery. It's like my passion is coaching. But if somebody else who is not passionate about coaching and was forced to become a coach, that would leave them miserable. Even though
Mm.
the coaching itself helps people, they would be miserable doing it. So how much can you really help someone if you hate what you're doing? And so that's why I always talk about finding what you actually enjoy and go after that. Find a way to make money with it. Find a way to develop the skill further. Find a way to,
Yeah.
to make it your full-time thing. And everybody's situation is different. It might take you 5 years to quit the job that you don't like to then finally do that thing full time. But then again, if you set the intention, I'm going to set aside an hour every night just to learn the skill. And then after this amount of time, I'll be able to do this. There you go, right? But then there's also, you could take it even further and say, you could also make excuses for yourself. Whereas like, oh, it's like an hour a day, is that really going to do anything? This and that. It's like, have you tried it? The answer is probably no. Try it for 6 months. Try for a week and just see how you feel, right? And you're gonna get a little bit of like a little taste of what the experience was like. And if it's something you actually enjoy, if it's something, maybe you are or aren't passionate about it, but you can also become passionate about things when you learn them more and spend more time doing it. So a week's time isn't that much, but it will give you a general sense of what the task itself is like. And if you reach a week and you're the type of person that can barely ever commit to anything, but you still deep down want to do this, if you do it for a week and you enjoy it a little bit, but you're still troubled with the commitment aspect of it, and you stop, think about where your life is going to be like in 10 years. Probably not going to be in a great place because you already aren't doing what you like, and you know that this thing is
Mm.
something that you like, but if you don't commit to it, you're not going to get to where you would like to be. And I think about this in my life all the time. If I stop coaching, if I stop making YouTube videos, if I stop running my podcast, if I stop playing in my
Mm.
band, if I stop doing all these things that I know I enjoy and love about my life, what I don't know what else I would do. Like I
Mm.
don't want to do this. I don't want to work at McDonald's. And some people will come like people come at when I talk about conversations like that, people come at me all the time and say, "Well, Brad, you're privileged. You never had to struggle to not put food on the table." And I would say, "Yes, I agree with you. I am privileged to a certain degree because of but it wasn't my choice, right?
Mm.
I didn't choose where I was born. I didn't choose, what money my parents would make and all this stuff. None of
Mm.
us choose any of this. So what we have to do is see where we're at now and then do everything in our possible power to get to where we would like to be. Maybe for
Yeah.
you it does take working at a minimum wage job for the next 2 years, and you don't want to do that. That might be the gateway to doing that. But then if
Yeah.
there's an intention behind why you're doing it, and you're not just working at a minimum wage job to say my life is hopeless, it's over. If you're working at your
Yeah.
minimum wage job for the next 2 years and saying to yourself, I'm doing this because at the 3 year mark, I will finally have enough money to do this thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then there's an intention behind it. And now you no longer have to go into work, this job that you don't like, and have it be completely purposeless and just be like, I'm just here to put food on the table. But it's like, I'm here to put food on the table
Yeah.
and then also to build a life for
Yeah.
myself in the future. And then you can go into work. And this is what I did when I was working in my restaurant job. I didn't really like it. I didn't hate it, but I was kind of like, bleh. But once I set the intention that I want to start a business, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to spend more time doing this, I want more creativity and free time in
Yeah.
my life, I said to myself, or it started when I said that to myself, the process of being at work wasn't as bad because now I said to myself, yeah, I'm here and I'm stuck here for the next 8 hours, but there's a purpose as to why I'm here. And this money that I'm making, I'm gonna take some of it and apply it towards this and do this, right? And so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point of me saying all this is figure out what that thing is for you, and then life can start to get better. Is there a time frame for when it'll get better? No. Could take someone
Yeah.
2 weeks, could take someone 6 months, could take someone 6 years. But the point of it is that if you set the intention and you work towards it, you're probably going to be able to do it.
You enjoyed right now part 1 from the interview with Bradley Glantz, aka Mighty Brad Official. And for me personally, I enjoyed this conversation really much. Anyway, I enjoy every conversation I have here on my channel, on my podcast. And really, by the way, leave a like here, follow me on YouTube, leave a review, a five-star review on Spotify, so that I can bring also bigger guests on the show. And yeah, you just help to spread this valuable messages we discussed on my channel, right? And today's insights was also really valuable for me. Today's insights on self-development in general, and also the interesting view on addiction, for example, and just in general building a better life for yourself. So when you are interested in part one I publish one day after I publish this episode. And now enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, here's much love and peace as always, and see ya in the next one here at A Place for Open Minds. And by the way, in part 2, we dive also deeper into relationships, what is also a really important topic. Not only the relationship with your boyfriend, girlfriend, also with your friends and with yourself, right? With yourself, it's so important. And then also we dive deeper into what is the Mighty Tribe. And then also a really important topic is investments. The investment, for example, in yourself. Why it is so important. It's the best investment you can do. And why? Yeah. About this we talk in part 2. So definitely make sure you don't miss out part 2, and then see you there. Peace out.